Welcome back to She Will Empower. I'm your host, Jessica Cherry. I'm a strategic intervention and empowerment coach, an NLP practitioner, a networking and empowerment community director, a certified sound bath practitioner, social media and marketing gal, and your Tuesday morning wake up club host on 94.3 KWVH Wimberley Valley Radio, where we bring real talk, real tools, and real empowerment straight to the airwaves. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. And if you're listening on the podcast replay, welcome to this space where we talk about mindset, growth, psychology, and the real life decisions that shape who we become. This show is for people who are trying to do better in life. The ones building businesses and careers, the ones raising kids, the ones caring for aging parents, and the ones reinventing themselves. And today, we're diving into a topic that I believe has the power to change every area of your life: your relationships, your confidence, your health, your business, your parenting, your happiness, and even your future. Today's episode is called Emotional Fitness, the skill nobody taught us. Now, when most people hear about the word fitness, they immediately think of the gym. And why not, right? They think about treadmills, weights, protein shakes, steps, calories, workouts, all the things. But today, we're going to talk about a different kind of fitness. We're talking about emotional fitness. And the truth is, many people spend years strengthening their bodies while completely neglecting their emotional health. Seriously, they know how to build muscle, but they don't know how to process disappointment. They know how to lose weight, but they don't know how to navigate rejection. They know how to work harder, but they don't know how to recover emotionally. And because of that, many people are walking around emotionally exhausted. Not because life necessarily is harder than it used to be, but because they were never taught how to handle what they're feeling. They were instead taught how to suppress it, to hide it, to ignore it, to push through it, stuff it down, smile through it, pretend that everything is okay. And eventually, all that emotional weight begins to pile up, little by little, drop by drop, until one day they feel overwhelmed, burned out, anxious, irritable, disconnected, or, completely numb, which I'm guilty. I have done that too. You know, Back in the 80s, 90s, this was the way to do it. And they don't understand why now, why they feel that way. So today, we're going to discuss it. So, first, let's talk about the difference between mental strength and emotional fitness. So, one of the biggest misconceptions I see is people confusing mental strength with emotional fitness. Listen, they're not the same thing. Mental strength says, I can push through, I can keep going, I can survive, and that's valuable. That has certainly its place. And emotional fitness says, I can feel without being controlled by it. And that is different. Anyone can suppress emotions for a little while, right? Many people do. I do too. But suppression isn't mastery, it's avoidance. And avoidance always sends the bill later. Sometimes the bill shows up as anxiety, sometimes it shows up as burnout, sometimes it shows up as resentment or anger. It can even show up as illness. Sometimes it shows up as complete emotional breakdown. The emotion doesn't disappear, it simply waits. So let's be honest, most of us were never taught emotional fitness. Think back to childhood. When you were upset, what happened? Were you taught how to process your emotions, or were you taught how to stop feeling them, right? I think many of us heard this. Hey, stop crying. You're fine. Get over it. Don't be so sensitive. Be strong. Quit being dramatic. Move on. Those kind of things. And while those statements may have been well intentioned, they taught us something dangerous. They taught us that emotions were problems, something to get rid of, something to avoid or to hide. And so we learned, right? We learned to disconnect from what we felt. We learned to become performers, to smile when we were hurting, and to say we're fine when we were not. To carry burdens silently, to keep functioning no matter how exhausted we became. And society reward us for it, right? People called us strong and responsible and dependable and reliable, all the things. And meanwhile, inside, we're carrying emotional weights we had no idea how to release. I want you to imagine something. Imagine every difficult experience you ever had was placed into a backpack. Every disappointment, every heartache, every betrayal, every criticism, every rejection, every failure, every loss, every time you felt unseen, every time you felt abandoned, every time you felt not enough. Now imagine carrying that backpack on your back every day. At first, it may not seem that heavy, right? But year after year after year, experience after experience, that weight accumulates and eventually it becomes exhausting. The problem is not that most people don't realize they're carrying it. No, they simply assume exhaustion is normal. They assume anxiety is normal. They assume overwhelm is normal. They assume emotional reactivity is normal. They've been carrying the backpack for so long, they forgot it was there, right? So, I am a strategic intervention and empowerment coach under Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins often talks about something called state, your emotional state, because your state depends on your behavior, your decisions, your actions, your communication, your confidence, all the things, everything, right? Think about this. Think about the difference between making decisions when you're overwhelmed versus making decisions when you're empowered, right? Same person, different state, different outcome. When you're stressed, the world looks completely different, right? You don't want to deal with it. And when you're discouraged, opportunities disappear. And when you're angry, every single thing around you feels like a threat. And when you're confident, though, possibilities appear. And that's why emotional fitness matters. Because life is not just happening to you, you're experiencing life through your emotional state. And if you don't learn to manage your state, your emotions end up managing you, right? It's a crazy thought, but it's true. Now I want to talk about something fascinating. So I'm a big fan of Joe Dispenza. I've read a ton of his books, and he teaches that many people become chemically addicted to familiar emotions. Think about that. Chemically addicted, not intentionally, but neurologically. The body becomes so accustomed to certain emotions that it starts expecting them, like stress, worry, guilt, fear, resentment, frustration, overthinking, drama, chaos. Those emotions become familiar. And what is familiar feels normal, even when it's unhealthy. So someone says, why do I keep finding myself in the same stressful situations? Why? Sometimes it's because the body has become conditioned to stress, not consciously, subconsciously. The body has learned the emotional pattern, and because it's familiar, it continues recreating it. And this is the one reason emotional fitness is so important. You cannot create a new life while continuously rehearsing old patterns. Now, here's something many people don't realize. The goal isn't to stop feeling emotions. The goal is to become skilled at navigating them. And that is the difference. See, emotionally fit people still feel sadness. They still feel disappointment. They still feel grief and anger. The difference is they don't live there, right? They process it. They move through it. They learn from it and they release it and they move it on forward down the road. Now, emotionally unhealthy people, they often do one of two things. They either explode or they suppress, right? It's exploding or suppressing. You know them. Maybe you're one of them. I've been them before in my life. Neither is emotional fitness, right? Emotional fitness is feeling without drowning, right? It's acknowledging without being consumed. It's responding instead of reacting, right? Now, I really believe emotional fitness is becoming one of the most important skills of our generation because information isn't the problem anymore. Information is everywhere, right? That's in our back pockets, right? It's books, podcasts, videos, courses, AI, right? AI is everywhere now. Google. Information is so abundant. And what people lack now is emotional resilience, right? The ability to stay grounded in uncertainty. So the ability to manage fear, right? The fear, the doom scrolling, the ability, and then it's the doom scrolling and not letting it consume you, right? The ability to regulate stress, the ability to navigate setbacks or to recover from disappointment, and the ability to remain centered when life gets messy, right? That is emotional fitness. And unlike many things in life, it can be learned, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about emotions. What emotions do you experience most often? Right? Think about that. What emotions are in your body most often? Not once in a while, not on your best days and not on your worst days, but consistently here. What do you experience in your body? What emotions? Because here's something most people never stop to consider. The emotions you repeatedly experience eventually become your emotional home. And once something becomes familiar, your brain begins treating it as normal, even if it's not healthy, even if it's exhausting, even if it's keeping you stuck. This is where emotional fitness becomes so important because whether you realize it or not, emotions are influencing your thoughts, your decisions, your behaviors, your relationships, and ultimately the direction in your life. And if you've ever learned how emotions actually work, it can feel like you're constantly reacting instead of intentionally creating, right? So your brain is always looking for proof. And let's start with the simple truth. Your brain is a meaning making machine, right? Every day it's collecting evidence, evidence of who you are, evidence of what the world is like, evidence about what's possible, evidence about what you should expect. And here's the catch here, your brain isn't looking for truth, it's looking for confirmation. Think about that. If you believe people can't be trusted, your brain will notice every single example that supports it. And if you believe you're not good enough, your brain will highlight every mistake you've done. And if you believe you're behind in life, your brain will constantly compare you to others. Whatever story you're carrying, your brain becomes skilled at finding evidence for it. And that's why two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different interpretations. Think about the siblings that grow up together and have a completely different childhood, right? And you're like, wow, I can't believe y'all grew up in the same house. And that's what I'm talking about here because they aren't seeing reality, they're seeing the reality through their filter of their beliefs, right? Now, I want to take it one step further. Most people think their thoughts create their emotions, and that's true. That is true, but it also works in reverse. Your emotions create your thoughts. Think about a day when you felt absolutely amazing, right? Confident, like such a great day, confident, excited, hopeful, maybe motivated. How did your thoughts sound? You probably thought, I can do this. Things are working out. I'm capable. I'm excited. I'm looking so forward to the future, right? I'm motivated. And now I want you to think about a day when you felt overwhelmed, exhausted, frustrated, discouraged, just in the dark, right? What happened to your thoughts? Suddenly everything looked harder, right? Everything looked bigger. The challenges looked bigger. The opportunities looked riskier. The future felt uncertain. Exact same life, different emotional state, different thoughts. And this is why emotional fitness matters so much Because if your emotions are constantly negative, your thinking eventually follows, right? Your body is always listening to you. One of the most fascinating things Joe Dispenza teaches us is that your body begins memorizing emotional stress. Think about that for a moment. Your body remembers. It remembers stress. It remembers fear. It remembers rejection. It remembers disappointment. And if you spent years feeling those emotions repeatedly, your body begins expecting them. The emotion becomes familiar, and what becomes familiar feels safe, even if it's making you miserable. And that's why people can receive good news and immediately start worrying. Or some people can achieve a goal and immediately start doubting. And some people finally experience peace and then they become uncomfortable. And it's because the body is still operating from old programming. The body is saying, wait a minute, this feels unfamiliar here. I don't know this emotion, right? I don't know peace. I've lived in chaos. Let's go back to what we know here, right? Even if it knows stress. And that's why some people are addicted to stress. They feel addicted to it. I want to talk about stress for a moment because I think a lot of us feel stress, right? It's a stressful time sometimes. Well, the world we live in, it's stressful because stress has become a badge of honor in our culture too. People brag about being busy, overwhelmed, exhausted, booked solid, right? I hear that a lot in my circles. I am booked solid. I am running on empty. But here's the problem. When stress becomes your default state, your nervous system never gets a chance to recover. And eventually, your body begins functioning as if stress is normal. You wake up stressed. You work stressed. You drive stressed. You eat stressed. You sleep stressed. And after a while, calm feels strange. Stillness feels uncomfortable. And rest feels unproductive. Have you ever sat down to relax and immediately felt guilty? That's not because you're lazy. No, it's because your nervous system has been trained to associate constant activity with safety. And emotional fitness requires retraining that pattern. See, the nervous system doesn't know the difference. And here's something powerful. Your nervous system often responds to imagined threats the same way it responds to real threats. Think about that. You imagine a difficult conversation. Your heart starts racing. You imagine, for example, public speaking, right? Your stomach tightens. You're like, ooh, no. Or you imagine failure and your anxiety spikes up, right? Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. That it's all in your brain. It's all in your mind, but your body is already responding. And that is why so many people live in a state of chronic emotional stress. They're not responding to what's happening in the real world, they're responding to what might happen, right? What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if it doesn't work, right? What if I embarrass myself? What if I get rejected? And every one of those thoughts carries a psychological response. The body reacts, right? The nervous system activates. Stress hormones flood the system, even though the threat exists only in the mind. That's crazy, right? But it's so true. When your nervous system stays activated for too long, something happens. You stop thriving and you start surviving. Survival mode changes everything. In survival mode, creativity decreases and problem solving decreases, connection decreases, joy decreases, right? Vision decreases because survival mode isn't concerned with your dreams and your goals. It doesn't care about that. It's concerned with your safety. And while survival mode is useful during actual emergencies, it's great, right? But it's not meant to be a permanent lifestyle. And yet, millions of people are living there every single day, always rushing, always reacting, always bracing for the next problem, always preparing for the worst, and always waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And over time, it takes a tremendous emotional toll. So, I am an NLP practitioner, and one of the principles of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, for those that don't know the abbreviation, is that the meaning we assign to events often matters more than the events themselves, right? That meaning matters, not just the event. For example, I'll give you an example here. One person experiences rejection and thinks, I'm not good enough. They rejected me. And another person experiences rejection and thinks, that just wasn't the right fit. I'm moving on. Same event, different meaning, different emotional response, different future. Many people are carrying the emotional pain that isn't coming from the event itself anymore. It's coming from the meaning they attached to the event years ago, right? Maybe someone criticized you on a bad day and you made it mean, I'm not good enough. Maybe someone left and you made it mean, I'm not lovable. And maybe you failed and you made it mean, I'm incapable permanently, right? Those meetings become emotional patterns, and emotional patterns become identities. And here's the thing, your personality creates your personal reality, right? Your personality creates your personal reality, meaning your thoughts, your habits, your beliefs, your emotional patterns, your behaviors all combine to create your life experience. So if you wake up every day feeling overwhelmed, stressed, fearful, reactive, and exhausted, those emotional patterns begin influencing every single decision you make. You hesitate, you avoid, you procrastinate, you doubt yourself, you settle, not because you're incapable. No, it's because your emotional state is shaping your behavior. This is why emotional fitness isn't just about feeling better, it's about creating a different future. Because when you change your emotional patterns, you begin changing your choices. And when you change your choices, you begin changing your life. See, emotions are information, they're not instructions. And this may be one of the most important lessons you'll hear today on my podcast. Your emotions are information, they are not instructions, right? No way, they're not instructions. And just because you feel afraid, it does not mean to stop, right? And just because you feel uncertain, it does not mean quit. And just because you feel uncomfortable, it doesn't mean you're on the wrong path, right? Emotionally fit people understand this. They listen to their emotions, but they do not automatically obey them. They become curious. They start thinking, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What need isn't being met? What belief is being activated? What lesson can I learn here? Right? It's like the third person. You're looking at your emotions from the third person, and that is emotional maturity. It's emotional fitness, right? So here's a question for you. What emotional state have you been rehearsing for years? Is it stress? Is it worry or fear or being overwhelmed or resentment even or self-doubt? Think about that. And then we're going to think about how to change it, right? Because awareness is so powerful. When you are aware of something, it's amazing, but awareness without action changes nothing, right? You can understand every psychological concept in the world. You can read every self help book. You can listen to every podcast. But if you continue practicing the same emotional patterns, your life is going to stay the same. And this is where emotional fitness begins. Just like physical fitness isn't built by understanding exercise, right? You can understand physical fitness all day, but you gotta what? You gotta pump the iron, right? Emotional fitness is the same way. It isn't built by understanding emotions. It's built through practice, repetition, consistency, daily training. And today I'm going to share some of the most powerful tools I've learned through psychology, NLP, neuroscience, and personal development, coaching, all the things, all of it. We're going to go here. So here's the first tool. Name it to tame it. All right? We're going to make it simple. Name it to tame it. One of the fastest ways to reduce emotional intensity is to identify what you're actually feeling. And that sounds so easy, right? But most people don't do it. right? Someone asks how they're feeling and they say, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm fine. That's a popular one. I'm fine, I'm frustrated. But when you dig deeper, those emotions are often covering something else. Maybe underneath the stress is fear. And maybe underneath the anger is hurt. And maybe underneath the overwhelm is grief. And maybe underneath the frustration is disappointment. Research shows that naming emotions activates different parts of the brain and can reduce emotional reactivity. So, in other words, when you identify what you're feeling, you can create space between yourself and your emotion. So, instead of saying, I am anxious, try saying, I am noticing anxiety. See the difference? You're not the emotion. It is not you, right? You're not that identity. You're experiencing the emotion, and that distinction matters. So remember that. That's tool number one. You're going to start saying, I am noticing. You are not making the identity yours. All right. So, tool two is stop believing every thought that goes through your mind. You don't have to entertain every single thought. I can think that giraffes are blue. I'm not going to believe it. It's like that, right? Okay, so one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is realizing that not every thought deserves your attention. Think about how many thoughts pass through your mind every day. It's thousands, right? Some helpful, some neutral, some completely ridiculous, like my blue giraffe, right? And yet many people treat every single thought in their brain as the truth. The thought says you're behind and you believe it, right? The thought says you're not good enough and you believe it. The thought says I'm too late and you believe it. The thought says I'm going to fail and you believe it, right? But here's the truth. The thought is not the fact. It's a mental event in your brain, and that is it. See, emotionally fit people learn to observe their thoughts without immediately attaching to them, right? They ask, wait a minute, is this true? Number one, right? Is this helpful? Is this empowering? Or is this an old story trying to replay itself here? All right. So that's tool two. And the last tool, 2, 3, is to change your physiology. So Tony Robbins teaches that physiology changes psychology, meaning your body influences your emotions. And think about how people look when they're defeated, right? Just think about that for a second. So the head is down, the shoulders slumped, breathing shallow, eyes to the floor. Now think about how people look when they're confident. Chest open, breathing deeply, standing tall, eyes forward, energy elevated, same human body, different emotional state. So when you're emotionally overwhelmed, don't just work on your thoughts, work on your body. So move your body, walk, stretch, dance, exercise, right? Change that posture. Take deep breaths because sometimes the fastest way to change your emotional state is through physical movement. All right, I want to give you a bonus tool. Tool 4, the fourth tool, is stop rehearsing the problem. This one is huge, I think. Many people spend hours rehearsing what's wrong, right? They're stuck. And I've been here. They replay the argument, they revisit the disappointment, they rethink the mistake, they relive the rejection over and over and over. And the brain doesn't know the difference between something happening now and something being vividly rehearsed. So every time you replay it, you're reinforcing it, strengthening it, making it more familiar, right? You keep thinking the same thoughts and feeling the same emotions. You're conditioning yourself to stay the same person. So I want you to ask yourself, am I rehearsing the problem or am I strengthening the fear, right? That's a really, really, really important question here. Now, I want to talk about healing for a second. I want to clear up a misconception. Healing doesn't mean never feeling a negative emotion again in your entire life. No. Healing means those emotions no longer control your life, right? Emotionally fit people still have bad days. They still get hurt. I mean, it's still life, right? They still feel sadness. They still feel fear. The difference is that they recover faster, they regulate faster, they bounce back faster, and they don't build permanent homes in temporary emotions. They move through them. And that's what emotional fitness is really about. And that's what I want for you. My name's Jessica Cherry, and you can catch brand new episodes every Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on KWVH 94.3 Wimberley Valley Radio. And of course, you can listen anytime, anywhere on your favorite podcast platform. Just search She Will Empower, and I'll be right there waiting for you. And if you're an early riser or you're trying to become one, come hang out with me every Tuesday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. on the Wake Up Club on Wimberley Valley Radio. It's cozy, it's fun, it's full of great music and real conversations. And honestly, I know I'm being biased, but it's one of the best ways to start your morning feeling grounded, connected, and a little more alive. And now, if you're in Central Texas and your nervous system feels fried, overwhelmed, or like you've been running on fumes for way too long, I would love to see you in person at Lone Star Sound Bass. Just search Lone Star Sound Bass on social media and you'll find me. I guide immersive sound bath experiences designed to help you soften, settle, and truly reset your mind, your body, and your spirit. It's one of the most healing offerings I provide, and serving our community in this way is something I deeply love. Now, you can also connect with me through Ladies Lifestyle Network Hayes County, where I host monthly empowerment and networking events all across the Hill Country. These gatherings feature powerful speakers, local nonprofits, incredible women owned businesses, and some truly beautiful venues. Women come to these rooms to grow, to be seen, and to rise and have a little fun together. And I've also watched lifelong friendships and game changing business connections form right before my eyes. And if you want a more personal look of behind the scenes of motherhood, entrepreneurship, healing, real life as it unfolds, you can find me over on social media at Life of a Cherry Wife. And if you ever need help with social media and marketing in your business, you can find me on Howdy Social TX. Truly, thank you for being with me today. Thank you for showing up, for doing the work, and for choosing growth even when it stretches you. And before you go, I want you to do one small thing for your future self, even something tiny, because tiny moves add up and tiny choices compound. And sometimes it's that one small decision that becomes the moment that changes everything. Tiny moves create big impact, and sometimes that big impact is the confidence boost you need today. So stay powerful, stay grounded, stay connected, and have the most amazing, beautiful day and week. I will see you next time. Bye.